What the hell, I'm in the middle of something else right now, but I might as well take a crack at it. It's easy to make a villain interact with the hero. Maybe you make the hero siblings with the villain, to give either or both of them personal grief with the other. If the hero is a chosen one, maybe the villain is paranoid about whatever prophecy predicted their downfall and attacks the hero out of fear. Or maybe the hero has some MacGuffin the villain really wants and will do whatever it takes to get it. It's a lot harder to write a villain with more important things to do than hunt down the heroes all day. Or at least it's hard to write that kind of villain as menacing when they're not menacing our heroes directly. To pick an example, everyone but me loves Darth Vader because we get to see him menacing the heroes, but I haven't met anyone who cares about Palpatine enough to say more than, dude, that redemption scene where Vader threw him down a hole was so sick, or unlimited power! The problem is that in order for the villain to still seem menacing without menacing the hero directly, we need to see or at least hear about them doing other things to other people. We see Darth Vader do tons of stuff, but we don't see Palpatine do much of anything before episode 6. He could have been sitting on his throne doing nothing and the plot wouldn't have changed at all. Whereas the plot of, say, The Spectacular Spider-Man would have been way different if we didn't have the mystery of the big man to keep Tombstone's identity under wraps. This series is full of Tombstone's lackeys talking to huge players like Norman Osborn like they're on the same level. And Lincoln's boys are constantly cutting deals with people to distract Spider-Man so he can get some real work done. Try to imagine a version of Avatar where the presence of Fire Lord Ozai wasn't written into every firebender in the series. Zuko's scar was an accident. Azula's temper is just who she is, no explanation needed. He'd be a lot less menacing in Book 3, wouldn't he? Well-written, unconcerned villains require their writers to seed their existence into every conflict. Most monsters of the week were either harmed by or hired by this villain. Every big boss has some ideological view regarding this villain's actions. The world is influenced by this villain's mere presence in it. When it's done right, this writing technique can build a sense of dread in the viewer. The villain becomes our boogeyman. They're the monster we know the hero needs to fight, and their fight with the hero is the one we're most worried the hero might not win. This is someone the hero has to fight not because they did anything personally wrong to them or the people they care about, but because what they are doing to the world is wrong. Those are some crazy stakes we're playing with. So let me tell you why the Owl House does this villain the best in less than a minute of screen time. I'm Jordan Szymanski, and I'm furiously bisexual. Welcome to One Villainous Scene, Luz meets Emperor Bellows.
Keeping the Kanye, just like fucking Joe, 45's blazing. Keeping the Kanye, just another runaway. Now I'm just a renegade.
To cover every instance of the show seeding Emperor Bellows would take way too much time, but here are some of the big ones. The first episode covers a jailbreak from his high-security prison, the Conformatorium, which is a bit on the nose, but that's alright. The fourth episode introduces his coven system, along with the Emperor's Coven, the only coven that gets to do every kind of magic while everybody else has to limit themselves to one. Episode 10 shows us lost palismen in hiding, and while we don't know that they're hiding specifically from the Emperor's Coven, we do see Emperor Bellows cut into a palisman the episode before he meets Luz. So yeah, he's clearly not invested in their well-being. We can infer a lot about Bellows from the laws he's put in place. The simple fact that Tiny Cat Coven exists means he doesn't care so much about picking the right kinds of magic as he does not mixing them. And even then, there are caveats to mixing magic as long as you're working for him. Actually, there is something to that. The treatment of wild magic as something evil and unholy could point that he wants to keep people down. He wants people to be looking for direction in his country. He wants everybody to be looking to their coven leaders. He doesn't want free expression in magic because that's dangerous. Something about the most natural way to learn spells would either destabilize his society or is personally scary to him. Except for palismans, who he treats as a resource rather than living things. Bellows has very strong opinions about both magic and its uses, and he bakes those into the Boiling Isles through his laws. And that's without mentioning Ida's sister, Lilith. Lilith is a proud member of the Emperor's Coven, but she's also afraid of her peers and worried for Ida. Her pride and guilt are her greatest motivators, and Bellows plays on both. Bellows' frustration with Lilith's inaction is invariably addressed throughout the series, as Lilith tries to do things her way rather than the efficient way. For example, Lilith starts out by inviting Ida to join the Emperor's Coven willingly. She doesn't want to fight her sister. When that fails, she tries to find ways of capturing Ida that don't require violence or her doing it personally. When that plan falls through, and Bellows' frustration grows, Lilith is thwarted by Hooty of all people when she tries to raid the Owl House. The house itself is too strong for her. Finally, after exhausting every peaceful and even one violent option, Lilith does something drastic. She kidnaps Luz and forces Ida to come to her. Every one of Lilith's actions shows us how frustrated she is with her situation and how determined she is not to harm Ida. She's always expressing frustration at how hard it is to help her sister. She'd rather take Ida's human apprentice hostage than do her direct harm, and only confesses to cursing her when both of their ideological conflicts come to a head. And after all that work, all that pain and guilt that led Lilith to these extremes, Belos refuses to cure Ida's curse. He goes back on his promise because Ida's a wild witch and is going to be petrified anyway, so why would he bother healing her? Through Lilith's actions, we see a cold, calculating leader in Belos, with no compassion for his enemies and very little for his subordinates. Belos is an orderly villain. He wants every piece of the puzzle to fit exactly where it should. How they get there only matters for how long it takes. He sees the world as black and white, order and chaos, and there is nothing more dangerous to him than chaos. As long as everyone conforms to his ideals, he doesn't care what people do. Belos is a man who looks for results above all else. He cares about the ends, not the means. He only wants to capture Ida because she has the portal to the human realm. Everything else about her just makes her a wild witch that needs to be brought to justice. He doesn't reward Lilith's work because it's what he expected her to do, and she took a lot longer with it than she should have. He treats her like he's her manager at a shitty desk job. Hey boss, just finished writing that login page. Can I ask a favor? That page I asked you for last month? You're lucky I didn't fire your ass. Go copy these documents and get the hell out of my office. Lilith went against all her morals, cheated and lied, kidnapped a child and threatened her life, delivered her sister to the most powerful man in the Boiling Isles, and didn't get so much as a thank you. Belos expects loyalty. He doesn't reward it, and when the woman who showed him so much loyalty goes back on her word the same way he did, he disregards her like he does all enemies. The only person he doesn't disregard is the one girl who might have exactly what he's looking for. There is so much power in this scene. Belos whisks Luz's friends away and makes her kneel just to prove that he can. He doesn't hurt her yet, he has no reason to, but when she starts threatening him with wild magic, he does this.
Okay. I'll play.
This fight is 45 seconds long and is some of the best villainous characterization I've ever seen. Physically, all we see Belos do to send Luz flying and running for her life is flick a finger. He spawns monsters out of nothing, he moves solid rock with no effort, and he flings people around like they're puppets on a string. He does not care for this girl, for the people she loves, for this fight, any of it. It's all beneath him. Until Luz pulls a fast one on him and breaks his mask, earning her first threat from the main villain. A rite of passage for all would-be heroes, followed by a thinly veiled ultimatum. Give me your ticket home, or I'll murder everyone you love. I mean, it's not really murder, but it's basically murder, let's be honest. Where your average villain would frame this like a threat, Belos frames it like an offering. He sounds like a dispassionate doctor planning surgery, the your friend will die if you don't give them an organ conversation. Not compassionate, but not angry either. All we get from him is cold facts and logic. This is reality, and there's nothing you can do about it. Except there is, because the moment that Luz gives him the portal, Luz also destroys the portal. But notice something important in this frame. Belos sends Luz up to the platform on one of his abomination-like appendages. Appendages we see him retract earlier in the scene. If Luz burning the portal was such a big deal, why wouldn't he just retract the limb carrying her up to her friends? He had no problem breaking his promises before. Well, first, it isn't a big deal. At the end of the same episode, we see Belos' men rebuilding the portal and building something bigger around it. So Luz didn't disrupt his plans, she only delayed them. But if it's not a big deal, why does he give Luz this look? This look is very similar to the one he gave her when he threatened her. A threat he made after complimenting her spirit. I think Luz earned some modicum of respect from Belos in this scene, as an opponent. She didn't just hit him, she slowed down his plans, using unorthodox methods no less, something he seems to value a lot based on his treatment of Golden Guard in Season 2. That's going into future talk though, and this video is supposed to be Season 1 specific. Broadly, this scene succeeds because of one thing: time management. We've only seen Emperor Belos for less than an episode of screen time, but because the show gives us bits of information throughout episodes prior, we already know what he's about. And those tidbits of information are sprinkled in such an organic way that it feels like his presence is everywhere in this story. We don't know him, but we know what he's done, and that's more than enough for us to fear him. which ramps up the tension when Luz is tossed around and chased without Bellows doing much of anything, and it doubles down on the surprise when she still manages to land a hit. And again, that all happens in 45 seconds. The Owl House manages its screen time exceedingly well. Bellows gives me Firelord Ozai vibes, and Avatar had 2 full seasons to seed its villain. Disney gave this show half that to seed theirs, and it was more than they needed. And the fact that these guys, the people who did this, need more time to make Season 3 what they want it to be should tell you just how crazy the show gets later on. I don't want to make a habit of calling out to the ether like this, but whoever decided not to give this show the time it needed to make an extended Season 3, please rectify that decision. You've got so much support going for this show. Please don't kneecap it in the final inning. I don't know much about sports. Sorry if that didn't make sense. Point is, Emperor Bellows is one of my favorite villains, possibly because I've seen so little of him. What makes this scene so great is how little screen time it takes up, coupled with how much weight it carries. Like the villain it features, the climactic scene of Young Blood Old Souls prides itself on efficiency. Because when you're trying to establish order in a land built on chaos, every second counts.
Keeping the Cayenne just like fucking John Wayne, 45's blazing. Keeping the Cayenne just like no runaway. Now I'm just a renegade.
Hey, remember that part where I said I was going to be uploading every 2 weeks? Yeah, it turns out school takes a lot more out of me than I thought it would. But seriously, sorry I haven't been uploading nearly as frequently as I wanted to. I've been working on a big project ever since the last video, and I started to get to the editing process of that big project once I got the notification that, hey, there's this big YouTube collab going on, and I was like, oh, man, I really want to participate in that. So I decided to make that a challenge and wanted to finish one of these videos in a month, which, I mean, I didn't do it, but I tried. Anyway, I want to say thank you to Nando for starting this whole deal. I really love this idea. I can't wait to watch through the whole playlist. I've watched some of the videos, but I haven't gotten through the whole thing because I've been working on this the whole time. I'd also like to thank Unlike Pluto for his royalty-free music that I'll probably be using for the rest of my videos because it sounds badass and so cool. If you like the intro music for this video, look up Unlike Pluto. His songs are amazing, especially Talladega Nights. I think that one's my favorite. Oh, and real quick, I'd like to issue out a formal apology to Patrick Stannard. I accidentally credited Swift and Doig as the director and art director for Magnum Bullets, and I didn't mean to do that. Swift was the art director, and Patrick Stannard was the director. I feel really bad for doing that. But maybe that's an interesting segue to watch my Starlight Brigade video if you haven't already, and like Starlight Brigade. And if you don't like Starlight Brigade, we probably can't be friends, but thank you for watching my video anyway. And really, I mean that. Thank you for watching my video. It really means a lot. You guys are most, if not all, of the reason why I'm doing this right now. It's just been really encouraging seeing all of the wonderful comments on my last video. It really means the world to me. Thank you. New videos coming out as soon as I can make them happen. Take it easy, everybody. I'll see you next time. Peace.